Hi, I'm Carter Clues, the Director of Communications at Judicial Watch. Welcome to the second edition of Inside Judicial Watch. Today's topic is one that I know is very, very serious to Judicial Watch supporters, to Americans nationwide who are very concerned about illegal immigration. And we're honored to have with us the Judicial Watch's leading attorney on this subject, a gentleman who's been with Judicial Watch for 9 years and has argued these cases, has fought these battles, and has done an outstanding job. Welcome, please welcome, Michael Bekesha. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
This is a topic that I should warn our viewers. If you think the situation is bad right now, wait till you hear what Michael has to tell you, because unfortunately, it's probably even worse. In reading I've put together what I call a litany of horror. And what I found is over the past more than 10 years, Judicial Watch has really taken the lead in the fight against illegal immigration, in the fight against sanctuary cities. And what I'd like to do is go back to 11 years ago when Judicial Watch first started this fight, pretty much standing alone with Michael there helping lead this battle. And as I go through this litany of, in many ways, litany of betrayal by the politicians, I'd like Michael to comment and fill you in on exactly what's going on. Michael, will you do that for us?
Absolutely.
2006, Judicial Watch sued the city of Los Angeles for Directive 40. Shockingly enough, Directive 40 was issued by Daryl Gates, the police chief, directed the police not to identify or arrest illegal aliens. Where does somebody come up with an idea like that, Michael?
Sure, you know, this was really the first sanctuary city in the terms we talk about it today. This was really the first time that a police department, decided to order their police officers that they couldn't ask individuals they were arresting, people they came in contact with, whether or not they were here illegally. They wanted to prevent officers asking about immigration status. That way, those officers could not contact ICE. If you don't know somebody's illegal, you can't call the feds. And so this was the first of many that really started the trend of forcing police departments to stop doing their job. And everything has grown essentially from that Special Order 40 in Los Angeles 11 years ago.
And we know that shortly after that, young Jamil Shaw was gunned down by an illegal alien that this police department had let out the day before, rather than letting ICE know we've got one of these people here, step in and help.
You know, very unfortunately, there are many Americans around the country whose family members were victims of illegal immigration. A lot of murders, rapes, other horrific crimes, and it just continues to this day. You know, when President Trump took office, he issued an executive order creating this new office. And what this office is supposed to do, it's supposed to help those victims of illegal immigration. And, you know, Judicial Watch has been doing that for a long time. We've been representing individuals who, you know, family members or them themselves have been victims. We represented a police officer in Houston whose husband also was a police officer and was shot and killed in the line of duty by an illegal alien. We also represented an American citizen and a public school teacher in Chicago, Illinois. His brother, about 60 years old at the time, was run over by an illegal alien. He was then dragged for about 50 feet, 50 yards, until the car stopped. And we represented him as well to try and change the policy of Chicago, Cook County, so that other American citizens would not be injured.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the McCann case,
That's
right?
Correct.
Which you have taken the lead for us in. And the city of Chicago let the perpetrator, because they wouldn't do a detainer, just let him flee, go ahead back to Mexico.
That's
Is that
correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's what happened. So I think this happened on a Friday night or so. So the individual that killed Brian McCann's brother was in jail. He posted bail. And instead of holding this individual for enough time so the federal government could come pick up the pick up the illegal alien, the Cook County released him. They let him go. He left town. He fled to Mexico. And to this day, he's enjoying a good life in Mexico. And Brian and his family haven't been able to get justice for his brother being killed.
2007, Judicial Watch sued San Francisco Police Department because they were harboring drug-dealing illegal aliens. We won that case, correct?
We did. San Francisco had to change their policy, and it was a good fight to have. But unfortunately, as we've learned and as we've seen over the years, these victories are short-lived, unfortunately.
2012, we helped in Arizona where they passed SB 1070. And thank God that was a victory because they're now able to question illegal aliens. Is that right? The police are?
That's correct. We got involved in Arizona pretty early. We've always had good relationships with the Border Patrol, the police departments, law enforcement, and the state legislators down there. So actually when the Obama administration came in and sued Arizona because Arizona was protecting its own borders and protecting its citizens. But the Obama administration didn't like that, so they sued them. So what Judicial Watch did was we represented the Arizona state legislature.
Great.
We were in court saying that what Arizona legislature passed, what this legislation was, SB 1070, was common sense, practical approach to keeping Americans safe. Yes. And to an extent, the court agreed with us. They said that it was reasonable for police officers to ask some questions when appropriate.
Excellent, and you helped fight that all the way to the Supreme Court. So
I did.
Thank you for that. The 2014, we sued the Department of Homeland Security for records of, and brace yourself, this is almost unbelievable, 36,000 criminal illegal aliens. Sounds like I'm repeating myself, but these are illegal aliens who then committed other crimes. 36,000 the Obama administration released onto the streets, including 193 murderers and 496 rapists. What's the story there?
So back during that time, if you recall, there was some financial uncertainty. The government shut down for a period of time. Right. The administration said, well, we don't have enough money to keep Americans safe. So what they did was they released criminal aliens onto the street. They said these weren't really the bad guys, it wouldn't be a problem. Well, we started asking questions, as well as many other newspapers and media organizations around the country. We wanted to know, is that true? Were the non-violent, non-threatening illegal aliens put back on the street? And what we learned, we sued. We represented a Border Patrol agent down in Arizona, and we sued. And we wanted to know the names of the individuals that were released and the crimes they had committed. And we got the crimes they had committed. And there were some gang-related, some gun-related, drug-related, a lot of domestic violence. A couple of aliens had 5 or 6 DUIs. And all these individuals were put back on the street. But our client and Judicial Watch, what we wanted to also know were who were these individuals, because we wanted to do some more research. We wanted to be able to go online and research whether or not these aliens committed additional crimes once the federal government released them. The Obama administration said no, that these criminal illegal aliens had a privacy interest in their names.
So their privacy interest was more important than the safety of the American people.
That's what the Obama administration said. And we lost that in the first court, so we appealed it. And then we're in the Ninth Circuit, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit out in California. And I recently flew to Los Angeles to argue that case. Well, the argument took place after President Trump took office. So you would think that President Trump, being tough on immigration, would say, these illegal aliens, they don't have a privacy interest that is greater than the public interest in public safety. Right. Well, that wasn't the case, unfortunately. The Trump administration stood up in court and argued against Judicial Watch. So the Trump administration has not changed all of their not all of the policies that the Obama administration had.
I'm reminded of, you're saying that reminds me of the preface of Winston Churchill's book, Their Finest Hour, where he said how the brave Britons stood alone until those who were hitherto half blind were now half ready. Well, this is how Judicial Watch has stood alone and half blind with the Obama administration, totally blind, but now the Trump administration half ready.
You know, the Trump administration, they came in, there was a lot of hope. There was going to be a crackdown on immigration, there was going to be a crackdown on violence against American citizens, and the Trump administration said, we're going to help American citizens. We're going to make sure that individuals that are arrested, illegal aliens that are arrested by local city and state police and charged with violent crimes, or really any crime, and is convicted, we're going to deport those individuals. Right. And we're going to make sure that the cities are allowing the federal government to deport those individuals. You know, the Trump administration started off releasing a report. It was a weekly report, a weekly detainer report that said, you know, it listed, this is how many people we sought to take custody of from different cities, from different police departments. And these are the police departments that said, no, we're not going to let you take custody of these criminal illegal aliens. We're going to put them back on the street. And you know, this was good information. And I think it was about 3 of them. So it was 3 weeks. And then the Trump administration stopped it. And Judicial Watch wants to know why. So we have filed a federal lawsuit under the Freedom of Information Act asking for records about why this stopped. Who made the decision? When was the decision made? And why was that decision made? Because we still believe that this information about criminal illegal aliens living in our cities is important to the American public.
If I'm not mistaken, was it one of these reports that we received the information about Travis, Texas for?
That's correct, yeah, Travis County, Texas, which is where Austin is.
Okay.
You know, they had a very good sheriff in place up until January. That sheriff communicated with federal officials anytime his department captured, arrested, convicted a criminal illegal alien. But that all changed, and now Travis County is one of the worst sanctuary cities in America.
I have here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that Travis County, when we did get information, that they had released 204 criminal illegal aliens, 45 whom had committed violent crimes.
You know, that's correct. We sent a public records request to the Travis County Sheriff, and we asked, provide us information, provide us all the records about the detainers that you denied. And that was the results we got. So, you know, Judicial Watch doesn't just sue the federal government, doesn't just ask the federal government for records. We also go directly to the cities and the states, and we really try to get the information from anywhere possible.
45 violent criminals this city released onto its own people. These are not jaywalkers. These just people didn't spit on the sidewalk. These are violent criminals that they just said, go ahead and go out and prey on our people some more. I mean, what else can you say?
You can't really say anything else. You know, the other thing is, a lot of those individuals were being asked for, the federal government was asking for those individuals to be detained, and the federal government at that point was the Obama administration. So even the Obama administration thought these individuals were too dangerous to be on the streets, and Travis County said, well, we think differently.
And this is an administration, and we're running out of time here, but this one is so egregious that I have to have you share this with our viewers. Tell us what Obama did November 20th, 2014 with the Secure Communities program.
Yeah, so the Obama administration, there originally was a program in place that allowed for cooperation between the federal government and state and local law enforcement. You know, really the goal was throughout the Bush administration and early on in the Obama administration was for everybody to work together. You know, there wanted to be coordination so that the federal government would, you know, notify a state about, well, you may have a problem here. You know, we know there's a gang of illegal aliens. So if you come into contact with them, you know, you're able to arrest them for violating state law, but also federal law, federal immigration law.
Right.
And the Obama administration's, you know, decided, well, maybe that's not a good idea anymore. So what they wanted to do is take power away from the states to help enforce illegal immigration and help enforce federal immigration. So it really made it that the cities and states couldn't help anymore. It's almost like the federal government saying, you just robbed a bank. You know, there are a bunch of people out there, not illegal aliens, probably American citizens, you know, robbing a bank. Well, the state can't do anything about it. They have to just watch the bank being robbed and let the federal government know, and maybe the federal government will do something.
And the figures are stunning to me. From 2008 to 2014, the Secure Communities Program caught 406,000 illegal aliens and got them back out across the border. Through 2012, 166,000 of those were criminals. They had committed other crimes. 61,000 were felonies, and Obama ends the program. What does that tell you? What does it suggest to you?
It suggests that the Obama administration wasn't serious about protecting American streets.
And that is exactly what some of our questioners have asked. We have our social media experts here at Judicial Watch put out a all points request for any questions that our people on Facebook, Instagram might have. And some of these questions are very incisive, and Michael clearly is the one to answer them for us. Good question here from one of our Instagram followers. What legal rights do the citizens of this country have to move against mayors or governors to prevent sanctuary cities, to end sanctuary cities?
You know, since January, I've heard from a lot of Judicial Watch members, as well as members of the public at large, about their cities passing ordinances, regulations, laws that are really sanctuary city policies. And they always ask, what can we do? Well, the first step is to say something. It's to show up at your town hall, your city meeting, and testify. And, you know, talk about the information that you learned from the Judicial Watch website. You know, how many aliens are being released, what crimes are being committed, and why it's not good policy. You know, it's also a violation of federal law. Besides that, Judicial Watch is looking into numerous cities and numerous states around the country to see whether or not there's a possibility for litigation. You know, there's something called taxpayer lawsuits. And what that means is that a taxpayer in some states can sue their own state or their own city, alleging that taxpayer money is being spent for an illegal action or unconstitutional purpose. And so Judicial Watch takes a look at those. You know, that's how we sued in Los Angeles over Special Order 40. That's how we sued on behalf of Brian McCann against Cook County. And we've brought numerous, we've sued in California. We're suing San Francisco over their most recent sanctuary city policy. We're suing California for providing in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. We also brought that lawsuit several years ago in Maryland. So Judicial Watch is always out there looking to see how they can help the average American citizen fight back against sanctuary cities.
One more question, I'm afraid we are out of time. This Judicial Watch supporter wants to know, one of our Facebook followers, wants to know, and they're obviously well informed, as so many Judicial Watch supporters are. In 1996, Congress passed a law essentially outlawing sanctuary cities. Mm-hmm. If that law is on the books, why can't we just sue or to take away the funding of sanctuary cities?
You know, it's very difficult to take funding away currently, but that could change. I mean, if you think about it, if you enter into a contract and a lot of money that's received by states from the federal government, it's just a contract. You know, anybody that has a contract with someone would be unhappy if the terms of the contract changed midstream. If you woke up one day and the person you were contracting with added additional terms to it. And that's the concern about threatening to take away federal funds. But what the Trump administration's doing, and what they're doing correctly, is they're saying once that contract ends, because each of the contract is about a year long, we're going to change the terms. Beautiful. And then if you violate those terms, we're going to take away your funding. And so the Trump administration is taking the right direction, the right steps to try to prevent sanctuary cities, but it's a tough battle. You have places like New York, where the Attorney General there is providing guidance to all cities and states within New York about how to be a sanctuary city and how to evade federal law. You know, you also have states or cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C., and even California that are now providing money to illegal aliens to help, to give them, they're called legal protection funds. And so they're providing funds to illegal aliens so that they can try and fix their status. So there are a lot of things, a lot of different things that cities, states are doing around the country. And Judicial Watch is monitoring that, talking to their members, talking to members of the public. And you know, the best way to fight back is to educate. And that's why Judicial Watch's website and the work we do is so important, because it's helping to educate the American public, as well as those cities and states that are thinking about passing sanctuary city or sanctuary policies.
Michael, thank you very much. All the news is not good, but the news is encouraging to the extent that you and Judicial Watch are out there leading the fight to put an end to this travesty, to put an end to this, as I said earlier, betrayal of the American public. So thank you. I appreciate your being here. And thank you for joining us on the second edition of Inside Judicial Watch.